When framing our characters or objects of interest, we want to consider the rule of thirds, which will help the audience know what to pay attention to in our scene. Let's say we were given the task of framing our character. Now, what would be the best approach? Should we have the character centered or maybe a little bit over to the side? What would be the best angle to capture this character from? Now, this is where the rule of thirds comes into play. And here's how it works. Imagine if we were to take this screen and break it into thirds horizontally and vertically. Now, where the lines intersect, that would represent points of interest where the viewer is going to bring their attention to the most. Now, this is all theory-based, but studies have shown that that is what the audience will focus on, those points of interest. So knowing that, we can then determine exactly where our characters should be framed, lying on at least one of the points of interest so that we can tell the audience where to look in our shot. Now, this also brings to mind balance, and there are two types of balances. There is the formal balance, where everything is symmetrical, which is great for peaceful scenes. Let's say a couple at a dinner table just talking with one another. And in a shot like that, again, we can use symmetrical balance to convey something, again, that's peaceful, that's restful. Now, the other type of balance is the asymmetrical or informal balance, where we really have a lot of emotion going on that we're trying to bring across to the audience. So in a case like this, where we have something a little bit more dynamic going on, we'd want to consider offsetting the camera so that the character lies on one side of our screen, lying right on top of one of the points of interest. Let's say if we wanted to bring the attention to the eyes, well, we can have the eyes lie right on top of that point and draw the audience's attention to this area of our screen. So that's what it's all about. And this also brings to mind the seesaw approach to keeping our balance. What the seesaw approach basically represents is areas that are as significant are pushed further away from the center, and areas that we need to pay attention to the most are brought closer to the center of our shot. So all of these things we want to keep in mind: the rule of thirds, breaking down our balance, and then even considering the seesaw method to make sure that we choose the best camera angle possible for the impression we're trying to make in our shot. So again, when framing out your scene, whether it be framing a character or an object, go ahead and break down your screen in thirds. If you're allowed to, go ahead and use a dry erase marker and draw it on your screen, or even use some tracing paper if that would help. But either way, go ahead and make sure that that's done first before you decide on the camera angle of your scene, just to make sure that the best option is chosen for your shot.